Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is Top Manufacturer 620, posted July 14th, 2024. My 30 female spouse, 35 male, has been acting incredibly strange. Do I need to help him, or do I need to escape? Sorry about the formatting, I'm on mobile, and I'm really shaken up as I write this. My 30 female, spouse, 35 male, has been experiencing behavior that has only become increasingly concerning. In the past 2 months now, he's been talking about things he claims are happening, but he's never mentioned before. As some background info, when his behavior first started getting concerning, I managed to convince him to go to the hospital to get checked out for his mental health. He wasn't even seen by a doctor, and he was told he just needs to take a certain medicine to help him sleep. The issue is, he also smokes weed, so this medicine does not mix well with that. He won't quit smoking. We also have 2 very young kids. Back to the weird recent behavior. He claims he had an old email with an inheritance that got hacked, and he needs to access it. I tried helping him get on it, but he hasn't used it in literally the 12 years we've been together. I only knew of its existence previously when I helped him switch his Facebook login, and that was an email attached. Another example is that he believes everyone is talking about him to me and everyone else. I mean, literally everyone else. He thinks there's some big thing planned to hurt him or do something horrible to him soon, and that we're all in on it. On a few other separate occasions, he's asked about a show that we're on, and asked how much money I'm being paid to keep a secret. He also thinks I'm having secret phone calls, and that I've apparently left the room to accept these calls, which then results in me coming back crying about something I've apparently discussed on the phone. Whenever I try to explain to him that none of this is happening, he fights back, saying that I'm just lying to him and to tell him the truth, that I need to tell him the truth or something bad is going to happen. It's gotten so bad he ended up getting fired from his job because he was barely showing up. He kept going to the cop station to make a report instead of going to work. After he got fired, there was some sort of tense situation where they ended up calling a wellness check for him because they were afraid he's going to come back and hurt someone. The cops showed up while I was also home, and he said he wouldn't hurt someone, he only acts in defense. In the recent weeks, he's gone from screaming at me, demanding answers, to just not talking to me at all. At this point, I'd rather he just not interact with me. The reason I'm writing this is because of what happened today. It was a nice day out, and I asked if he would come with me for a walk with our kids, to which he agreed to. He barely spoke a word to me or the kids on this walk, and when he came across a playground, I asked if we should take the kids there for a few minutes of play. He then got upset at me for suggesting it and said I always control everything, and I'm the queen of the decisions. I didn't even tell him we were doing that, I just asked. When I mentioned this, he just said, "Do whatever you want, like always." So I figured, why not? So I played with the kids at the playground and he did his own thing. Someone left a couple various balls there and he was throwing them around. He then picked up the football and threw it in my direction. It flew past me a couple feet from me. I asked why he did that, and he said, "Why are you upset? It didn't hit you." To which I responded, "Well, what if it did?" He then said, "If I wanted it to hit you in the head, I would have thrown it that way." Then he started on a rant about how he's going through the same thing with everyone lying to him, after which he sat down in the corner of the park and was doing literally nothing. I was getting upset, so I packed up the kids and started walking to leave the park. I said to him, "We're going home," and started walking away. Apparently, he tried to yell out to us, but ended up taking a different way home than we did. He told me this when he met me on the street when we were almost home, saying that, "Next time I want to be an idiot and walk away, maybe stop and listen for him calling out." I didn't hear him, but honestly, he could have easily caught up to us. I was getting more and more upset and said I wanted to go for a drive to get coffee, and he said, "Fine." I said I wanted to take the kids, and he asked why. Then I said, "Fine, you stay home with them," and he said, "No, they can go with you," and started putting them in the car. I got in the car, and he got in the passenger seat. to which I asked him if he's coming with. He said yes and to drive. I told him I didn't want him coming with because he's being mean, and he said he could be a lot meaner. As I started driving away, he kept going off on the usual bullshit he's been talking about lately, and I told him I don't want to hear it. He started screaming at me to keep driving and shut the fuck up. I stopped the car and told him to get out, and he made a motion like he was going to punch me, but punched his hand in front of my face. At this point, I started crying and yelling at him to get out, and he yelled back, "No, just drive." I then said I should just drive him to the police station for that, and he said he would choke me unconscious before we even got there. I was crying even more at this point and said I don't want to be with him anymore and I want him out. He said no. He continued to be a dick for the rest of the car ride, where I pleaded with him to not treat me this way, especially in front of our children. It's not fair to them or to me. He said to not bring them into this. I said, how couldn't I? They are literally in the car. Anyway, after I drove us home, he asked how long I've been waiting to break up with him and who I'm replacing him with. I told him I haven't been, and there's no one else, which of course he doesn't believe. When he got inside, he even taunted me saying, I should take you to the cop station, in a girly voice. He's outside smoking and I'm inside with the kids writing this. Of course I'm shook up currently, but I don't know what to do. We only have the one vehicle, which is in both of our names. The place we rent is actually my mom's, so we don't have a lease, but we both have our addresses attached to this place on our licenses. He wasn't always like this. Literally only the past couple of months his behavior has been this bad. I miss the person he used to be. I miss that he would spend time with me, with the kids, but he spends all his time by himself now. I don't know if he's going through some sort of manic episode or what's triggered this change in behavior, but I really don't know what to do. Is there something differently I can do to help him? Every time he talks to me about whatever situation, he doesn't accept any answer I say, and also won't accept if I say nothing. Edit, I just want to update and let you all know we are safe. I'm sorry for not saying anything sooner. I'm a bit overwhelmed with how popular this post got, and we'll give an actual update later. Thank you for the advice and comments as well. I'll mention a couple things. We're not in the US. Where we are, marijuana is legal, so my spouse does get it from government-run dispensaries. I don't think there's a chance his stuff gets laced aside from the fact he mixes cigarettes with it. A lot of people mentioned meth. There's just no way. He doesn't go anywhere random. He doesn't talk to people outside of our household, aside from the few times he would go to the police station. I have his location on his phone, so I can see where he goes when he leaves. Relevant comments. User Yanatrib XO. I just want to say, I was the terrified kid in the back seat. Absolutely traumatizing. My mom always came up with an excuse as to why we couldn't leave the house or leave dad. Made me suffer for many years of my life, and I'm 28 years old trying to deal with the trauma it's given me. Please stop making excuses and leave. Get out for the kids. My mom never did, and it truly has ruined my mental health. Comment from Cora Cricket. Wow, this is way more urgent than everyone seems to be acting. Are you able to sneak yourself and your kids out right now while he's smoking? You could start by going to the police station and telling them what's going on. They should hopefully be able to connect you to resources for families fleeing domestic abuse. If you have someone you can stay with, then that makes it easier, but either way, do not spend another night in that house with him, and definitely don't let your kids around him unsupervised. If you can't sneak out, I would call 911. Tell him what just happened and about his threats, and that you need to get out, but that you're afraid for you and your children's safety. They are not always the most helpful, but something needs to happen. At least then, if he comes back in and tries to do something to you, you'll be on the phone with them, and they can send someone then. Might be a good strategy while you're leaving too, if you're worried he might catch you. It sounds like he's having some kind of psychological break. The paranoia and being convinced everyone is part of some conspiracy against him is not abnormal there. But he has clearly told you that he is a danger to you, so you need to worry about that first. Get yourself and your kids to safety and figure the rest out after that. Once it's time to deal with him and his situation, depending on where you are, getting him involuntarily detained for psychiatric treatment requires providing he's a danger to himself or others, so at least you can show how he's threatened you. But worry about that after you and your kids are safely away from him. User Daddy Tywin comments, heavy cannabis use can trigger the onset of schizophrenia in people who are already susceptible. Your husband is right at the age where this tends to happen in men. I'm not a doctor, but I really think this is a mental health emergency, either due to a drug interaction, drug use itself, or because he's rapidly developing a psychotic disorder. You need to see a mental health professional, not the ER, and describe all of this behavior to them, including the frequency of his marijuana use. Opie responds, that's the thing. He saw a crisis nurse at the hospital and a therapist/social worker there, and I feel like the only thing they tried to do was get him to take a specific medication. I think it's called quetiapine or something, but anyway, I don't think he's regularly taking it, and if he is, he definitely shouldn't be mixing it with smoking weed. Daddy Tywin responds, that's the generic for Seroquel, which is actually an antipsychotic medication used for schizophrenia and bipolar episodes. That makes way more sense to be prescribed than a sleeping pill. You're right though, he needs to be taking it as RX'd. Bottle should even have the dosing on it. I looked up the drug interactions, and the ones listed are moderate and mostly physical, although generally people with any kind of psychotic disorder, I think, are not supposed to use marijuana. Update, July 20th, 2024, 6 days later. Hello, first of all, thank you all for the comments, messages, etc. on my previous post. Obviously, it got a bit too much to keep up with responding, but I just want to say I really appreciate the help. Too long didn't read at the bottom. To give an update, I left the house the night I made the post, but went back home the following day. I wanted to be able to collect some sort of evidence I could use, because my spouse has been really good at downplaying his symptoms to any authority figure. I want to mention that I had been present at most doctors and hospital visits prior, so I know what they did recommend for him. I felt at the time they did not give him enough help for the crisis he was obviously going through. Anyway, continuing on, the couple days after the Sunday post, he did not really engage in much conversation with me or our children. Every time he entered the room, I set my phone to record. I did not get anything until Thursday, when he finally started talking to me again. He was questioning who I've been talking to about him, and who has been trying to sabotage his life. Obviously, I denied everything because there's no one talking to me about him, aside from this Reddit post, which he didn't know about. This started to anger him, which included him yelling at me and saying if anyone is talking to me about him, to bring him to the house so he can take care of them himself. I tried to not engage anymore. This made him more upset, as he was continuing to demand answers from me. He would then say, "Oh, I want to hit you," or "Don't make me slap you," when I was either not answering or just saying I didn't know what he was talking about. I got this on recording. After he ended up walking away and leaving the room, I took the kids to bed, locked us in our room, and tried to sleep. The following morning, he insisted on driving me to work. I told him I wanted the car, to which he disagreed with me and said he needed it. After dropping our kids off, he started going off on me about how I'm stupidity, dumb, a bitch, etc. for keeping his inheritance, again something he's clearly having delusions about, from him. I tried to disengage completely, keeping myself to the far side of the passenger seat, which caused him to grab me by the back of my neck and pull me closer to him, where he told me to listen to him. I obviously reacted to this and was super upset, telling him to please focus on driving and not to touch me again. After he drove me to work, the last thing I said to him, as he was still going off on me with the car window open, was, "You desperately need help." Once I got in, I called my boss and let her know what happened. She came in, canceled her appointments for the day, and took me to the police station. We made a report. Although the sergeant we initially spoke to seemed to be against us making a report, he kept saying he'll be homeless if I report him, like he's the victim in this scenario. I told him my safety and the kids' safety should be more important, and he brought in a different officer to make the statement with me. Once I completed that statement, they let me know to stay away from the house as they were going to arrest him, and will call once he's out of the house. About 5 hours later, he was arrested. Apparently, he was very compliant, and with all the information I provided, they actually took him to the hospital, and he's currently on a 30-day psychiatric hold. He'll be going to court at some point for uttering threats and assault, but seeing how he doesn't have a criminal record, I'm sure it'll just end up being a slap on the wrist. So, as of now, I'm home, safe with the children, and we're getting our locks changed. I'll also most likely get a protection order, but in an ideal world, he gets better, and that's not necessary. I guess we'll see in the future. I want to again thank everyone for their comments and assistance. A lot of you made some excellent points, and although I know some of my decisions probably seemed like dumb ones, I was trying to figure out the best solution logically for us. Any other future updates will be on my profile. Too long didn't read, he was arrested yesterday and put on a psych hold. I'm okay physically, but not emotionally. Relevant comments. User Sickonat. I swear to God, fuck the police and that sergeant trying to talk you out of it. Gee, I really wonder why she doesn't go to the police. What a mystery. Good luck, OP. Saturated regulated. I dealt with something similar, but thankfully not with a romantic partner, and we shared no assets or children. It was terrifying, and I still am affected by it daily. My friend ended up being diagnosed as schizoaffective disorder, paranoid schizophrenic. He did really well on meds, actually so well that he stopped believing he had an issue and stopped taking the meds. His last bout of mania legitimately scared me, and I had to remove myself. Your husband is starting a very long road, and a lot of mentally ill people struggle with keeping straight down that long road. I'm not saying you should remove him from your life, but I am saying you have the best chance of healing and raising unaffected adults if you do remove him. Your love for him and the family you've built cannot sustain mental illness, and love is not all you need. Sometimes it becomes way bigger than you, and the kindest thing you can do is bow out. I'm really sorry you're all in this situation. User Shame the Devil comments, paranoid schizophrenia runs in my family. The problem with your husband is that he's already become more violent, and it'll likely get worse if you let him return to the home. I've seen family members get better on medication, only to make the decision to stop medicating because they no longer believed they were ill. Over and over and over. I have also seen them act normally in front of others, which made it difficult to even get them the help in the first place. One of my family members attempted to murder their caregivers. They almost succeeded. Another attempted to murder a person they thought was real, but who was actually a hallucination. You're not safe. Your children are not safe. And you're not taking this seriously enough. Comment from user Raise Ire Set Fires. I'm very proud of you for taking the first steps towards a new healthy life for your kids and yourself. To continue on this path, you need to quit hoping for the best and start preparing for the worst. It's a long road, but you've shown the intelligence and fortitude to successfully see this through. That being said, I'm going to have to stress to you that he's not going to get better in 30 days. Get that restraining order ASAP. One reason is he will be served while in custody instead of having to track him down to serve him. Second reason, they will look at how quickly you do these things when he goes to court for the charge. It shows you are actually going to follow through in the seriousness of your situation. Third reason is he is more likely to be charged for the domestic violence and threats. Fourth reason is it will usually make custody and separation move faster. This is one of those situations where shit in one hand and hoping miraculously becomes mentally healthy in 30 days in the other, which fills up quicker. Good luck and don't stray from your path to safety and happiness. OP responds, thank you. It's definitely wishful thinking that he'll get the treatment needed to go back to normal. I don't want to think of this as the end of our relationship, but at the same time, I don't know if he would want to be back with me since I got him detained. Right now, the only thing I'm thinking about are the kids. User No One Cares at 805 comments, make sure as soon as the protection order is in place to let the school know that he isn't allowed to take the kids out. Find a therapy place for you and the kids and have them help you explain to them that it's not safe to talk to dad at the moment. That way he won't try to get his revenge through them. And good for you, and you're right, him ending up homeless is not your concern. OP responds, they're toddlers, so a bit too young to understand. Their daycare is aware as well. No One Cares at 805 responds further, I work in a daycare, and unless we have a restraining order, on paper, if the other parent shows up, we have to release their child to them. There's nothing we can do. And children are smarter than you give them credit for. Just because they can't say everything doesn't mean they don't notice everything. User Emma5382 comments, I think something to keep note is to keep a close eye on your kids in their early 20s and teach them the signs. It could be hereditary, but with enough foreknowledge, can be caught early and treated. Update 2, November 21st, 2024, 4 months later. I don't know if anyone will even see this. My spouse is doing a lot better. He received the treatment he needed in the psych ward of the hospital, gets a shot every so often instead of taking pills, and only smokes cigarettes now. He's back to his normal self, engages in conversation with myself and our children like he did before this crazy shit happened, has a job, and honestly, is being a better partner overall. It took a lot of time for me to feel like I could trust him again, but we've taken a lot of time to work on things and get back to how we should be. I know a lot of people wanted me to leave and never look back, but you have to realize how he acted in my initial post was nothing like how he is as a person. Obviously, he had some sort of weird psychosis happening, which could have been a result of a high intake in marijuana, plus a couple added stressors. I don't want to go into too many details because it will give away where we are, but basically, something traumatic happened under 10 years ago that happened again a month before he started acting strange. It was one of those types of events that forces you out of your home for an undetermined amount of time. Anyway, that's all the detail I want to go into that. Obviously, he was affected by it more than I thought, because when this event happened, I was the one having a difficult time and he was my rock. But after we were able to go back home and have some normalcy, that's when things started changing for him. It started with him randomly needing to gain access into an old email, to thinking he was being recorded all the time like he was on the Truman Show or something, to thinking that everyone, including me, was out to get him. This is when the threats of violence started happening. I was obviously in disbelief because in the entire time we've been together, nothing like this has ever happened. I never once felt like I was unsafe. I never felt scared until the threats continued to come and he started to escalate. After he made excellent progress in the hospital and I had many reassuring conversations with the psychiatrist, I allowed him to come home when he was discharged. It was so hard not having him around. I cried all the time. Our kids really missed their dad, and he really missed us. He needed to get help, and I'm so thankful I was able to find an effective solution. This will most likely be my last update. I don't really think I'll need to add any other details, but again, I just want to thank everyone for their messages and comments, even the ones who called me an idiot, lol. And I know some of you just wiggled your mouse to look at the amount of time left in the video. Relevant comments, creepy addict. I only wanted you to leave if he refused to get help. He got the help he needed and seems to be back to his normal self. Just keep an eye out for any changes in behavior. User Comprehensive Yak 359. This is a great update. I hope things continue to go well. Do not forget to take care of yourself and your mental health. What you went through must have been scary. Wish your family all the best. Update 3, September 20th, 2025, 10 months after the last update. Another update. Hello all, it's been almost a year since my last update. To keep things short, shit hit the fan this year. He didn't take the medications he was supposed to, reverted into another major psychosis episode, which ended in him attempting to strangle me after I disputed his delusions. He was removed from the home, and there's a protective order against him for myself and the kids. This happened earlier this year. My kids and I are safe, and haven't heard from him since. Don't be like me. Don't trust that someone will get better or attempt to work on their horrible mental health when they haven't proven to be reliable in other parts of their life. Don't try to fix someone who can't be fixed. Or rather, just don't try to fix people. Thanks everyone for their comments, whether they were good or bad. Shout out to the Best of Redditor Updates community. That'll eat me alive after reading my update. New update. One more update. April 21st, 2026. 7 months after the last update. Hello all. Not sure if anyone would even care or be following my story at all at this point. Maybe it's just nice to talk into the void of the internet. Anywho, it's been almost a year since my ex assaulted me, and almost 4 months since he's had any sighting or online presence. He was supposed to appear in court earlier this month for the assault and other related breaches, but did not show up. The officers speculated that he skipped town, however I truly don't know how he would manage to do that. As far as I know, he didn't have a job or a home, and anyone that he is friends with would be vulnerable, unhoused individuals like himself. All of this is to say, I don't even know if he's alive anymore. After my protective order expired, he reached out, essentially asking to hook up, which I did not entertain. The last time I heard from him was on our oldest child's birthday. Not to ask to see them or wish them a happy birthday, but to call me a manipulative cunt. From there, it's been radio silence. To this day, I still do not understand what happened, but with therapy, I'm realizing that the majority of his behaviors were not normal or okay. He was incredibly paranoid of other people, very controlling and insecure about myself and my activities, and was completely comfortable with threatening violence to anyone and anything for the smallest inconveniences. Did he act on the majority of those threats? No, but for the most part, I also wondered if he was just trying to scare me. Our oldest child still gets sad whenever they bring him up, and the youngest will ask about his whereabouts, but aside from that, seems fine with his absence. They're both doing great without him. The next step is to file for full custody. However, I don't know what I'll be able to accomplish without being able to serve him. Is this something I can apply for on the basis that I've been the primary and only caregiver for almost a year? I don't want him to affect any decision-making process for them. On a positive personal side, I have begun seeing someone new. It's very different than what I'm used to with my ex. When you don't have to spend all your time managing someone else's emotions, you can feel lost. They're fantastic with me and my children and really enjoy their presence. Rereading the original posts have been a weird experience. I was a completely different person back then, and I had no idea I could ever get him out of my life. Maybe another update will happen if he's ever found. Maybe this is the last update. I hope you, the reader, have a fantastic day, and I thank you for reading my ramblings. So, while it is morbid to phrase it like this, if he is alive, I would be shocked if you had any issues with custody moving forward or having parental choices over your children, because the fact that he's been missing for this long and the fact that he has been this absent, and regarding his past medical history and potentially the previous police incidents he's had, yeah, at least that would be the case in the US. It really depends on where OP is and how their systems work. Now, managing mental health can be a bastard and a half because not only do you need a rock-solid support system, but you also have to have the desire and drive to improve yourself. And the problem is, you may not have that desire or drive if you genuinely don't believe anything is wrong with you. And in fact, it could even compound to the fact that you know, quote-unquote, that nothing's wrong with you, and they're just trying to control you, thus making the process of getting help all the more difficult and tricky. And then the issue becomes, when they finally do get that help, when they do get medicated, well, are they going to want to stay medicated, or over time, are they just going to believe that they're cured and can come off the medication? There's also my concern of, was the husband ever given an MRI? Was he ever actually looked at beyond just the service level symptoms? Because what if it was something as serious as a brain tumor, which can oftentimes present symptoms eerily similar to this, especially with it coming so out of left field? And with him now just disappearing, it certainly makes me concerned. In the end though, I can't really fault OP for any of the decisions they made along the trajectory they took. This is a tricky and difficult situation. OP started out by asking for help when she realized something was wrong. OP got help when she needed it. OP got out when she needed it. And, understandably so, was hopeful when things began to seem like they were looking up, like her husband was actually beginning to change. But unfortunately, he stopped taking his medication, and things worsened quickly, drastically, and it sucks that OP's third update ended with, yeah, well, here we go. I'm gonna get torn apart again by the internet, but here's the update. I can't blame OP for hoping her husband was actually changing and bettering. I mean, this is someone who she married, who she fell in love with, who she had children with, who she has a lifetime of memories with, and is now gone, a shell. I don't blame her for being human and hoping that when things were looking up, they were going to be looking up for good. I don't blame her for having those hopes, for hoping that with her husband actually taking his medication that these problems would be behind them. But the problem returns back to the conversation of you have to want to help yourself, and you have to be consistent with your medication. This is a nightmare scenario to be in, of the person you love becoming someone who they're not. Or even in the vice versa, of you becoming someone you're not because you can't ground yourself to reality anymore, because your brain won't let you, because your brain betrays you, and you begin to hurt the ones that you love around you. In my eyes, OP made the right decisions when she could. She got herself out when she needed to, And when things seemed to be going right, she gave him a bit of lead, and then when proven that he couldn't be trusted, she got out and took the kids with her. She chose not to stay, she chose to get out, and that's what's important. Good luck to you and your children moving forward, OP. This post was collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." The original OP is Pikapi, posted to r/relationship advice August 17th, 2023. My ex-best friend, 25 female of 10 years, wants me, 25 female, to forgive her for sleeping with my exes, plus 3-year update. As an editor's note, BSF stands for best friend to avoid the confusion with BF, boyfriend. So my ex-best friend, let's call her Andrea, was my best friend for 10 years. We're at a party. I brought my fiancé of a year with us. We're about 5 to 8 drinks in and everyone's feeling it. I went off to go talk to another friend while Andrea and my fiancé sit at a table on the outside deck. I go back about 15 minutes later and my fiancé tells me he needs to talk to me discreetly after she gets up and walks away. He tells me she asked him, "Why her? Why does everyone always go for her? Why does no one go for me?" And then proceeds to say, "Would you ever date me?" Now, in the moment, I don't know if I fully believed him. About a year later, I've been broken up with my fiancé for about 3 months. I started hooking up with another guy I had known. We'll call him Colby. One night, I threw a party, and it got kind of crazy. I was not feeling well and was in the bathroom. While I was in the bathroom, Andrea was all over Colby, someone had told me later that night. And as I was on Snapchat posting stuff, she takes a pic with Colby and is basically on top of him and sticking her tongue out. She sends it to me while I'm on my phone. I didn't really think much of it. 2 weeks later, a mutual friend says Andrea is sleeping with Colby and that she slept with another ex of mine after we had broken up. I messaged her and asked her, "Are you sleeping with Colby? And did you sleep with other ex?" She plays it off like she has no idea what they're talking about and says she would never do that to me. I asked, "Are you sure? If you like him, just be honest so I can stop wasting my time on Colby." And then starts gaslighting me and asking why I would believe mutual friend. I didn't push it after that because I didn't want to start a fight with her. One night I looked at SnapMap and it showed Colby and Andrea in the same location and I knew it in my gut. I expected it from a guy, but not my best friend. I asked again. She blew up and finally admitted it after gaslighting me for 3 weeks. Then tried to make me out to be the bad guy and saying, "You always make everything about you, and you guys weren't even in a real relationship." And a bunch of other crappy things. I get into a relationship with Tyler. A few weeks later, I stupidly forgive her. 7 months later, me and Tyler take a break. We all attended a party together, and I see her flirting with him, and flashbacks of Colby came back, and long story short, we fought again and didn't talk for a very long time. A year later, I've moved out of state, and she's in a relationship with Tyler and is pregnant with his child. I now know all of my feelings were right. I mean, her last 3 relationships were all of my exes. Another year later, she says she misses me and is sad I moved out of state and doesn't apologize for anything. I told her I don't hold grudges, but I don't think I can fully ever be friends with her again. Update, I've blocked and removed her on everything. Should have been done sooner, but what's done is done, and I've learned my lesson. Editor's note, OP made a similar original post onto another subreddit. I'm adding the comments from that subreddit for more context. Relevant/top comments. Commenter 1. She hasn't apologized for anything, so it does not read like she wants forgiveness from you. OP responds, yeah, very true. The fact that she hasn't apologized shows she doesn't feel bad like she should. Commenter 2. You have so many broken relationships, maybe you should work on yourself and not worry about exes. OP responds, it's not worrying about exes. If you read anything into this, the takeaway is that she was my best friend for a decade, and that's hard shit to get over. This was in a span of quite a few years. I'm now in a happy relationship and I'm engaged to be married. She recently crawled out of her hole to try to get back in my life. I think you should really pay attention to the full story. One of them wasn't a relationship even, and I stated that I just really started to like the guy. I don't think 2 relationships in 4 years is crazy, lol. Commenter 3. How did she become your best friend? It seems like you know each other because you meet often, which may or may not be a coincidence, but otherwise? She wants a certain reaction. Maybe she wants you to envy her as she envies you, or just to hurt you. She doesn't care about your friendship, only about appearances. Life is too short to waste your time on the wrong people. OP responds, we met in middle school and became friends through a mutual friend. We were best friends ever since, and we lived together through the first incident. Commenter 4. I wouldn't be so bothered by someone getting with an ex, so long as whatever developed between them started after the relationship was over. In at least one of the cases, that just isn't true, and in the other cases, she at least tried to get with them while you were still together. She's a snake. OP responds, all I wanted from her was communication. Just be like, hey, I think I really like him and don't know what to do. I would have worked it out and been like, hey, you know what, go for it. But she gaslit me and lied, so it just ruined everything. Not even an apology, too. Commenter 5. Man, she's tired of Tyler and wondering if you found something new for her. You're smart to walk away, man. Fuck that. Commenter 6. Yeah, not the asshole, but I gotta ask, did she seem competitive with you or jealous with other things in your life? Did she ever try imitating you or your life? Because this is straight up weird. She went out of her way to get your exes multiple times. It just reeks of envy or jealousy to me. But no, she burned that bridge long ago. You don't have to forgive toxic people. OP responds, actually, yes, I'm so glad someone asked that. I don't want to seem full of myself, but everything I had, she had to have. I got sparrows tattooed on my chest. She did the same thing. I got a skull and roses on my forearm. She, of course, had to do the same. Nose piercing? You guessed it. She got it too. Dyed my hair red? Yup. Everything I did, she mimicked. I was always told imitation is a form of flattery, but it gets to a point where it's weird. She would get mad that I would get the attention at the bars even if I wasn't entertaining it, but I knew how self-conscious she was and felt bad, so I never said anything. She was my closest friend. Now, I see so much more. Commenter 7. Yikes, not the asshole. Maybe she's only in contact because she needs a new boyfriend. OP responds, ha, that one got a good laugh out of me. Thank you, I needed that. It's really a tough situation for me because we were attached to the hip. I haven't made any new friends, so it's hard to say no, but I'm going to hold myself to my standards. Additional comments from OP after reading responses. I'm too nice and oblivious, but not anymore, don't worry. After many commenters are saying the same thing, I'm glad to know I'm not a bad person. I think we're all in agreement here. Commenter 8. That oblivious part, so obvious. Your damned fiancé told you what she was doing and you ignored him. She showed you what she was doing and you ignored her too. How many friends told you what she was doing? Ignored them too. But now you're mad? I guess if you'd walked in on them, she'd have said he slipped. There's trusting and then there's willfully blind. You still act like you could trust her again at some point after she stabbed you in the gooch at least 3 times. OP responds, okay, you obviously don't read very well. Yes, I didn't take action on something my boyfriend said because we were all drunk and I had no proof. The second person told me, and I did act on it. I asked her about it. I can't do anything without knowing the truth. I'm not just gonna jump to conclusions. And I already cut her off. Everyone's acting like I'm talking to her, Lamau. I was just trying to make sure I'm doing the right thing by telling her no. And y'all just eat it up and read way too much into it. No one said I was going to trust her again. Update, June 8th, 2026, 2 years and 9.5 months later. 2+ year update! Here's the original post. Edit, I meant to say 3+ years in the title. Hey everyone, I randomly came back across this post after not thinking about it for a long time and figured I'd give a real update since a lot has changed. It's been over 3 years since everything went down with Andrea, Colby, and Tyler after I made my original update. I fully stuck to cutting Andrea off, and I've kept her block/no contact ever since. That was honestly one of the best decisions I made for my peace of mind. So, the actual update on the situation. Andrea ended up staying with Tyler for about a year, and as I told you all before, had a baby together. That relationship eventually fell apart after Tyler cheated on her, and shortly after their breakup, he even tried reaching out to me again, which I obviously didn't entertain. After all of that, Andrea is now with Colby. Yes, the same Colby from my original post. So basically, she ended up in long-term situations with both of the main people involved in all of this. As for me, I stayed in the relationship I moved out of state for. We've now been together for years, and things are amazing. We're building a life together, both settled into careers, and we've been talking seriously about the future and trying for a baby, yay. Looking back, I don't really feel anger about it anymore. It was painful at the time, but it also made it very clear who I could and couldn't trust. Mostly, I just feel far removed from who I was when I wrote the original post. I was constantly trying to make sense of people who weren't treating me with basic respect, and I don't live in that space anymore. What do you think? Did I make the right decision all those years ago? I think I did. If anyone remembers this from years ago, thanks for reading back and giving advice, and thanks again now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Good for you! Just don't introduce him to Andrea. JK. Opie responds, yeah, you got that right. LOL. Commenter 2. I'm confused about your timeline in the original post. Was Tyler the fiancé that you initially took a 3-month break? Opie responds, no, different guy. They never dated. He was just my fiancé she tried hitting on at a party. Commenter 3. Don't try for a baby, try for marriage first. Opie responds, we're getting married beginning of next year. Commenter 4. You've been together a couple years and you're talking baby but not marriage? Marriage is much less of a commitment. Take things slow, OP. OP responds, I responded to someone else, but we're getting married at the beginning of next year. We've also known each other for a very long time. Commenter 5. Why did you and your first fiancé break up? Just to provide some context to the story. OP responds, we just grew apart, wanted different things. It was a mutual breakup. Smiley face. Commenter 6. You must recognize that your first ex-fiancé soon after receiving an advance from your fake ex-friend was the first to warn you. At least one on the list of exes was sincere, apparently. Good luck in the future pregnancy. Opie responds, yes, he was a good guy. Glad he told me. Okay, so 2 main points here. The first point is, what the hell is up with Reddit trying to push the marriage like that? Am I the weird one for thinking that you don't necessarily need to be married to have a child with someone? I mean, I can understand if there's religious obligations behind that, but not everyone's going to have those. I could certainly argue that a child that you want to have, at worst case scenario, you end up with split custody as long as you end things amicably. But with marriage, that is technically supposed to be for life. Yes, you can always get a divorce down the line, but that could be extremely messy. Wouldn't you also want to make sure that you're marrying the person that you do in fact want to spend the rest of your life with? I do see the argument for wanting to ensure by being married that you have a stable environment for the child, but is the stability coming from the marriage or coming from the work-life balance at home? I feel like it really shouldn't matter to Reddit whether you're married or not and you're trying for a baby, as long as the two of you are financially stable and happy, right? That's what should be the criteria there. Stability. Not necessarily what the government thinks of your relationship. Or your taxes. Although, from a tax perspective, though, it is definitely better. But the only reason why I'm on this topic here is because those comments are just bizarre in my eyes, and maybe I'm just the odd one out here. Now, the second thing is just the chameleon of a friend that she had. In a sense, I almost feel bad about Andrea. And is it Andrea or Andre? Is Andre even a name? Have I been saying it wrong the entire episode? Like foul? Actually being full, and only just now learning that because when growing up in Idaho, my mom just used to say, oh, look at the baby horses. I never actually heard the proper name for it, only read it, so in my brain, oh, foul. F-O-A-L. That makes sense. Not realizing that it's full like coal, which does make more sense, but then my brain made the additional connection of, oh, that's why you specify waterfowl, and not the fact that fucking turkeys exist. Anyways, aside from Andrea or Andre or whatever her name is, I do kind of feel bad for her for the sole extent of she is stuck being a chameleon because she's afraid to be herself. It sounds like she's trying to copy OP because she sees that OP is happy and doing well, so she sees it as, I have to copy this formula of a person in order for me to be happy, obviously. And the reason why I think that is because of what she told the fiancé. Why her? Why does everyone always go for her? Why does no one go for me? She's dealing with an internal crisis of self, of identity, and doesn't know or realize that she just has to be herself. She's trying to copy someone who she's not, and it's obvious to people. And that's why people aren't going for her. Because she's a Xerox. And I understand that. When I was going through middle school and high school, I had a hard time figuring out who I wanted to be, and I was too busy putting on 500 different masks and being someone I wasn't to attempt to fit in. And it really wasn't until I got comfortable in my own skin and actually started being myself that I actually started to make friends. So I feel bad for her, partially in the understanding sense of, I get it. I get what it feels like to just not be able to find yourself in your skin. And I was lucky enough to find that in my first year of high school, pretty much, and actually be able to find friends and friend groups that I was able to actually sit in and not have to wear a mask and not pretend to be someone I wasn't. She's 25 and still trying to figure that out. And that has gotta suck. But that doesn't excuse the fact that she is just actively lying to her friend and swooping under her feet and trying to get the scraps, or actively just poaching her relationships. Well, also just being a bad friend. Maybe Andrea keeps the mask up to act like OP because the person underneath is actually just this. It's the snake in the grass, and the snake is wearing a disguise. Not a goober who was bullied and tried to fit in and be someone they weren't, and later figured out that sometimes it's okay to goob it up a little bit. It's hard to say, but at the end though, at least OP sounds to be stable. Sounds that they have a good direction in life, and sounds like they're happy. And they don't have Andrea just swooping up from underneath them and stealing their shoelaces or some shit. Hey, welcome to the outro. For those of you who are hoping for Am I the Devil Monday, I do think I'll still probably end up doing an episode this week. I am unfortunately probably going to have to kind of pull back on that subreddit, not because the content's not good on it, but because it just seems less popular than other options, and YouTube doesn't like it when I upload unpopular topics and begins to punish the channel, which sucks because Devil is one of my favorites. I know a lot of you in the audience end up skipping that one because you don't like the negativity within it, which is entirely understandable. But I guess for me, it's kind of the same reason why people in medieval times would go to the stockades and throw tomatoes at people, because it's kind of fun just dunking on people who deserve it. Like, you can't undo what they did. Nothing you do will unfuck the Thanksgiving turkey, but at least you can call them a turkey fucker. Anyways, this is the perfect time to segue into gamer subs. Use code EYES at checkout. 100% guaranteed to not have fuck turkeys. I hope.